Hi friends. Oh man, I am already feeling sad that fall and Halloween are kind of coming to an end. We only have maybe about a week and a half of October left, and I feel crushed. I tried really hard in August not to post anything, or like not to post too much about fall and Halloween, because I really wanted to save it for, like the true fall months, September, October. But now I kind of feel like maybe I should have posted a little sooner because I'm really, truly sad. I don't feel like I got enough. So today, my plan is to squeeze the last bit of fall and Halloween vibes out of all of the things that I wanted to do this season. So first and foremost, I want to create those vintage candy buckets for my kids. My goal for these candy buckets is for them to be something that they can use for years and years to come. I mean, I guess my 11-year-old, he probably isn't going to be trick-or-treating for too many more years, but my 2-year-old could definitely use these candy buckets for many years to come. So I bought the candy buckets and we're gonna do a little paper-mâché craft. I've never done paper-mâché before, so we'll see how that goes. Then also, if you watched my fall dopamine menu video, I talked about how I wanted to create this really cute little like farmer's market or library book bag out of a canvas tote and add cute little like acorns and squirrels and mushrooms and things to the bag. So we're going to work on that today. Well, maybe not today, it might be tomorrow, but we're going to be working on that in this video. And I don't know, other things, I want to finish up some of my fall reading. I did finish up the Pumpkin Spice Cafe book while I was on my cruise last week in the Caribbean. It was such a great book, a really nice read. So I'm excited to dive more into the Cinnamon Bun bookstore. I'm on like chapter 4 right now, so I want to sit down and have like a nice like cozy reading session for that. And there might be some other things that come up in this video. I'm not quite sure yet, so I'm excited to get going. But let's start off with the candy buckets. I have a paper-mâché recipe ready to go, and I'm ready to give this vintage candy bucket DIY a try. Okay, I've never done paper-mâché before, so this should be interesting, but I found a recipe on how to make paper-mâché clay, and it seems pretty straightforward. I will be sure to put a link to this recipe in the notes below so you guys can go and follow it. There is also a video here on YouTube that I'll be using to help me with it, but what you need for this paper-mâché clay is some toilet paper, some joint compound, glue. The reason why I'm using the Gorilla wood glue is because on the recipe page, the lady who is like a paper-mâché expert specifically says to not use Elmer's glue with this DAP brand because for some reason the two, they don't make a good clay together, but she says that these two together do make a good clay. So we're gonna give this a try. And then we have some flour as well. We're going to be using the hand mixer and paint, and we're going to be going over these $2 candy buckets from Walmart. This one we're going to make into a cat, and this one we're going to keep a cute vintage looking jack-o'-lantern. The first step for this project was to cut out the cat ears and whiskers, and for that I just used some cardboard and some hot glue, and it worked perfectly. I wasn't really sure how sturdy it would be, but once you get the paper-mâché on, it worked excellent. Then it was time to make the paper-mâché clay. I started out by dampening some toilet paper. You really only need to let it soak in the water for about 60 seconds. I used 2 rolls of toilet paper to make all of the paper-mâché clay for both of my candy buckets. Then you wring out a decent amount of the water. You want it to still be soft and pliable and not too wet, but also not too dry either. I definitely suggest checking out the video that I found on how to make it. It's really helpful to find the proper amount of water that you need to leave in the toilet paper. Once I wrung out the toilet paper, I just kind of tore it up into smaller chunks just to kind of help my hand mixer to mix up the clay a little bit easier. Then I added in the joint compound, and it was about this time that I realized I'm about to add Gorilla wood glue to this mixture and use a hand mixer to mix it up. I should probably be doing this outside, so I decided to take this project outside for the rest of the molding of the clay, just to protect my countertops and everything else. After giving the damp toilet paper and the joint compound a quick mix, I added in the Elmer's glue. I think this is what makes the mixture dry really hard, so this is definitely a step you do not want to skip. And the last ingredient to add is the flour. This is what really thickens the whole mixture up. And this is the part where it's almost kind of like baking, where you slowly add in a little bit of flour, mix it up, add a little bit more flour, and check the consistency. If you've watched my DIY videos before, you know I'm more of a type B DIYer. So for this, there is a specific recipe that uses exact measurements, but I did not use it. I just knew I was looking for a clay-like consistency, and that's what I was going for. Then I just started applying the clay directly over the buckets and molding out the little faces. You can use tools or even just your fingers to smooth it out depending on the look you want. And if I'd mixed the clay up a little bit longer, I probably would have gotten a smoother texture, but actually I wanted that organic, like slightly rough finish. It gives it more of an old handmade vintage look, which is something I was going for, and I just kind of wanted these to look like something you'd find tucked away in an antique shop. Using this paper-mâché clay was so relaxing. It was almost kind of like sculpting. I will definitely be doing some more paper-mâché projects. Once everything was shaped the way I wanted, I set them in front of a fan and let them dry overnight. Okay, so it's the next day and everything is all nice and dry. Let me show you guys how they look before we paint them. The paper-mâché clay was so easy. I cannot wait to make more projects with the paper-mâché clay. And I feel like it dried really well. Right now, I do feel a little bit nervous. I'm a little nervous that the faces aren't going to be quite what I hope, which is always kind of the risk with DIYing anything, is like, am I going to like it when it's all done? But I think once we get the paint on, the paint is really going to bring these to life. So I'm really excited. I still think they're going to be great. I still think it's going to be like better than I anticipated. So at this point, I'm kind of in the middle of like did I make a mistake? But really, I'm fairly confident that they're going to be 90% confident that they're going to be great, 10% like they could be bad. So we'll see. But I would 100% do the paper-mâché clay again. And in fact, I'm probably going to be thinking of ways that I can do some paper-mâché clay, like ornaments or something like that for Christmas, because I loved it so much. So let's get started on some painting. And I really think that the paint is going to bring these to life. At first, I thought I'd need to use the baking soda paint trick to get that matte textured look, but honestly, the paper-mâché itself is already so textured that I really didn't feel like I needed it. And I decided that if the project ended up to be a little bit too glossy, I would just go ahead and use a clear coat of matte spray paint over the top instead. For the cat, I used a mix of black and brown because I wanted it to have that worn antique look and not a flat black, but something that felt aged and soft. And I do want to say that I do not recommend this paint palette that I have. These are cheap paints and they were a little bit too translucent. I had to use multiple coats to get them to look really opaque. For the pumpkin, I mixed bright orange with a little bit of red and a good amount of brown. I didn't fully blend the colors together because I wanted it to have that variation, and those little swirls and imperfect tones were what was going to make it look like a hand-painted vintage piece. And what really brought them to life, though, were the little details, adding some shadowing around the pumpkin's eyes and painting the tiny little folk art doodles on the cat. That's when they really started to look something like what you'd find in an antique store in the best way. Once I finished painting, I set them in front of the fireplace to dry, and Loxley and I took a little break and read a couple of books before her nap time, which honestly felt like the perfect little cozy pause after a messy DIY morning. After she went down for her nap, I grabbed a cup of coffee and started on my next project, which is the Farmer's Market canvas tote bag with all the cute little fall icons. I decided to give it a Gilmore Girls theme, so it was the perfect excuse to curl up, craft, and watch an episode or two while the baby slept. For this project, I ordered a pack of wool felt in all of these really beautiful fall colors, and I also ordered a 3-pack of these simple canvas totes that have a really nice muslin-like texture to it. Then I found this bundle of homespun fabric squares online, and it totally gives off like 1990s shabby chic vibes, and honestly, I'm totally here for it. Next, I started tracing and cutting out different fall shapes and playing around with how I wanted to arrange them on the tote. And once I had my layout figured out, I just used a simple fabric glue to attach each piece. And to give it that extra handmade cozy touch, I embroidered the phrase, "I am an autumn," which is that classic Gilmore Girls line that everybody uses for their fall reels. It felt really fitting for this bag, and I even turned the little coffee cup into a Luke's Diner cup, which is probably my favorite part of the entire project. And now I have the cutest fall tote bag to take to the library and to the farmer's market, and I just love it so much. Now I want to make one for every season. By the time I finished up the tote, the vintage candy buckets were dry and ready, and they turned out even better than I imagined. Loxley keeps going up to hers and saying, "Trick or treat." She is ready for Halloween this year, and even my 11-year-old loved his as well, so that was a huge win. And let this be your reminder to slow down and romanticize the last bit of this season. Pour yourself an iced coffee or a warm one if that's your vibe. Grab a good fall read and tuck in for a cozy little reading session while the leaves are still turning. And I also want to say that that's going to be a wrap for all of our fall and autumn content for this year. I'm simultaneously so sad, but also very excited for all of the Christmas content to come. We will be having all kinds of fun Christmas content in the weeks to come, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love you so much. I appreciate you, and I will see you soon. Bye. Mwah.